Soul Cycle Alchemy. I wish I had a metronome to make that echo sound.
Yeah, really. Uh-huh. Well, Saturday Night Live, America, we're back
Right.
after being off for a week. You know, everything must rest.
For real.
So, what's new?
Um, shit, nothing under the sun. Shit, same old bullcrap.
What about Under the Moon?
Um, going to do the libation while I roll up.
All righty.
I mean, the
The mantra.
mantra.
Yeah. Yeah, get the libations ready too. Well, here we go. Through the power, force, might, and will of the great no thingness of infinite beingness of infinite, endless, limitless, invisible life from which comes the absolute all that was, all that is, and all that is being and becoming realized into physical realization, actualization, and form as we all now will and command it to be. It's now being and becoming an active force of higher consciousness, an active force of infinite intelligence within us all now, being and becoming the great primordial dragon god sign Kundalini flame. Now, whirling and ascending up our spines from our root chakra to our central heart chakra and on up to our royal crown chakras, igniting our royal crown chakras, illuminating our first eyes, our Lord Amunel chakra, our hidden priestly grandmaster Magi, dragon god, son, king, and queen, igniting all of the 72 chakras in our first eye. Our 72 primordial dragon god, son, kings, and queens, and all of our legions of 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 armies 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 of armies. Now, willing all of the forces, all of the elements, all of the dark matter, all of the powers, dark energy within the absolute all, into being and becoming all of our will servants. Now, serving all of our will's objectives, intentions, and desires, crystallizing them all into physical realization, actualization of form as we are now willing commanded to be now being and becoming an active force of unstoppable energy that we all need now to help us overcome all of the obstacles and adversities in our lives, completely dissolving all of our worries, lack, problems, and fears into nothingness, now manifesting into our lives as all of the substance that we need to will and command our life into the proper order and law that we all now will and command and desire our lives to be, as we now affirm the positive abundance in the absolute all as an eachness of oneness in the absolute all, manifesting into our reality and life as divine love, perfect health and vitality, the abundance of prosperity and the in the absolute all, enriching our lives and the lives of everyone around us while protecting us from the evil of human thoughts and evil deeds against us and our family, neutralizing all of our enemies, bringing all out war, judgment, death, and destruction upon the evil soulless counterfeit spirits, the ignorant walking dead automatons and their Lord and God, the demiurge and its archonic forces, enslaving and feeding off of the energy of the divine spark and Kundalini race, and all of the entities and deities aligned with Yalda, who slayed our souls before creation, trapping them all in its prison of this physical realm of physical matter to be reborn, live, suffer, and die over and over again and again for centuries and millenniums until now, because now's the time of our rise as we all ascend to conscious unity, as now's the time of their fall, as all outward judgment, death, and destruction is upon them all, as we all now willing commanded to be. through the power, force, and might and will of the great nothingness of the almighty powers of the great nothingness of almighty flow, the great nothingness of infinite beingness, of infinite, endless, limitless, invisible life, from which comes the absolute all that was, all that is, and all that is being and becoming realized into realization, actualization, and form as we all now will and command it to be. Abracadabra, Ashe.
Ashe,
Yep,
Ashe.
Ashe. Now,
Okay,
what you
going
want
to
to
the
do, libation?
libations.
Yeah, let me get to that page. Okay, here we go. Ain, Ash, the nothingness, Ashe. Ain soft, the infinite, Ashe. Ain soft or the infinite light, Ashe. Adam Catman, the primordial Christ. Atik Yaman, the ancient of ancient, the most ancient of days. Arik Yampin, the big face. Absolute emanations, the supernal holy universe manifesting as the holy divine names, the cosmic Christ, Ashe, the great abyss of Gnosis, the crown of Zoroampin, the small face, the indwelling Christ, Ashe. Berea, form, creation, and paradise manifesting as our holy divine, infinite, magical, dark archangels and demons, Ashe. Yetzirah, formation, manifesting as holy, divine, infinite, magical orders of dark angels and demons. Ashe. Ashia, the actual physical world in the making, manifesting as the holy, divine, infinite, magical, earthly kingdom. Ashe. Yeshida, the holy, divine, infinite, magical spark, manifesting as our holy, divine, infinite, magical will. Ashe. Heya, the holy, divine, infinite, magical life force manifesting as our holy, divine, infinite, magical, heavenly, as our holy, divine, infinite, magical, heavenly desire. Ashe. Neshama, our holy, divine, infinite, magical, heavenly soul manifesting as our holy, divine, infinite, magical, heavenly thoughts. Ashe. Ruach, our holy, divine, infinite, magical soul manifesting as our holy, divine, infinite, magical words spoken through us. Ashe. Nephish, our holy, divine, infinite, our holy, divine, infinite, magical, earthly soul manifesting into physical realization, actualization, and form as we are now willing commanded to be. Ashe. Kether, the crown. Ashe. Hakma, wisdom, the supernal father. Ashe. Bana, understanding, the supernal mother. Intelligence. Ashe. Da, the great abyss of gnosis, Ashe. Hesed, mercy, Ashe. Gavora, judgment, Ashe. Tiferet, beauty, Ashe. Netzik, victory, Ashe. Had, glory, Ashe. Yasad, foundation, Ashe. Malkut, the kingdom, Ashe. The power, force, and might and will of the great nothingness of the almighty powers of the great nothingness of almighty flow. The cosmic flower blooming the absolute all into being, Ashe. Anything you want to add?
Order out of chaos beings, Ashe. Chaos out of order beings, Ashe.
Ashe.
Uh, Cristo Negro, Ashe. Noble Drew Ali, Ashe. Um, Elijah Muhammad, Ashe. Khalid Muhammad, Ashe. Cyrus, Ashe. Destiny, Ashe. Isis, Ashe. Um, Empress, Ashe. All the gods and goddesses known and unknown, Ashe.
Ashe.
Okay, so yeah, on a hiatus, we back
Yep, we're
with
back.
good science, with
Hmm.
this bad science, good science, whatever y'all into, we into it too.
Yeah, yeah, we're into it. Uh-huh. Yes, breaking this all down into a science. and expanding our evolution,
Expanding
going
our
back.
perspective, expanding our idea of the universe itself into a multiverse, into a a universe of multi potentialities.
Or better yet, it's awakening the divine spark, developing. Well, the divine spark is immutable, but it's experiencing this evolution, and so we want to bring the divine spark online and bring it into this evolutionary process and 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 into its real true nature, which is a spiritual nature.
No.
And yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, the divine spark, only a fraction of it comes down here with us, only a little tiny fraction of it.
That's the
And
mustard seed. That's the mustard seed.
yeah, it's the mustard seed. However, it's the higher mind, which is different from the regular mind, um, being put into a physical body with, you know, working through the physical brain. And so it's limited, and only it can only do so much, only so much of its
Oh,
potential.
I disagree. It's not limited. Humanity is limited, so it's going to be limited on how we perceive it.
Well, that too. How and this brain that it's working through is, you know, it has an intelligence of its own. This body that
The
it's working through
demiurge.
has,
The
hmm?
demiurge. Yeah, the demiurge.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, it has an intelligence of its own, just like everything else has an intelligence of its own, because everything is conscious. Everything.
What's a higher level of intelligence? It's a high levels of because
That's called mana.
intelligence is like a real low level of cognizance. You can go beyond that and go into clairvoyance. You can go into the divine conscious. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Or I mean the divine dark estate.
hmm,
And
well,
there's because this is like intelligence is what humans deal with. Everything got to be broken down intellectually. That's human shit.
well, yeah, it's human nature. Yeah, yeah, we it's our human nature. Well, the human nature, and it's an aspect of evolution that the divine spark is experiencing.
Well, through all of that experience, it helped. It aids in the evolution.
Yeah, in fact,
Humanity is a springboard into you know how those mythologies that talked about how humanity went from a Neanderthal and then it went to this advanced civilization and shit. From that's what
yeah.
it's talking about. That's what it's talking about because humanity humanity is a figment of our lower selves. It's a figment of our lower selves, and we have to come now. It's like going in a dojo. You know what I'm saying? You have to be reminded of, or you have to be subjected to these lower vibrational existence in order for you to recognize and cultivate higher vibrational states
Well,
of existence.
okay, yeah, but see, it's about when we fell out of unity. I mean, we fell out of unity unconscious, and so we had to go through this thing to become conscious or self consciousness. We had to go through this whole process, and I was studying that today from um, the, from some stuff, some theosophical shit, and it's talking about the divine spark and which is oneness, and in its higher form, it's what is called the monad, which means oneness, and the monad equals atma and buddhi. Uh, Atma is being the real is the being that is beyond consciousness and unconsciousness. And Buddhi is universal unity for consciousness. Therefore, it's not a form of individual consciousness. And everything in the universe has a certain aspect of manifestation of consciousness, from atoms to stars. They all have a kind of consciousness where, let's say, when you say consciousness, we're not talking about human consciousness, but um,
You
some
talking
say
about
or define.
that next level? What I was talking about, intuition, clairvoyance, and then you. It just now it's like it's hard to explain. You just have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah, it's something you have to experience. This isn't something I don't think you can explain or anything like that. Yeah, you have to experience it. But consciousness is the ability to respond to the environment. So there's things that are beyond that. For instance, an atom is conscious because it is able of interacting with other atoms. For instance, oxygen is usually not aware of hydrogen in normal conditions. So you have oxygen here and hydrogen, and they don't interact with one another. But in certain conditions, the oxygen becomes aware of hydrogen and they interact. And that's
What are
and
these
you
conditions?
can
What are these conditions?
that's a good question. Whatever that condition is, it's
It's energetic,
it,
bro.
it
It's
huh?
energetic in nature.
Okay, energy.
Yeah, it's energetic in nature, and it goes into electric magnetic energy. What attracts things to each other?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can see it in the whole um, molecular world, right? And they're now doing a movie on what we're talking about called what's the new one? The new Ant Man. They doing a new
Oh
Ant Man
yeah,
movie
yeah, that
talking
shit
about
look
what we're
crazy.
talking about.
Yeah,
Yep. So yeah,
they're trying to wake us up through these movies.
no doubt. Yep.
This actually is probably the ancestors working through them, getting them to put this shit out. Yeah.
And not that is that, but it's also there. Where are they getting the stories from? Ancient world. So the
Whatever
ancient world is
stories are
speaking to us. The ancient world speaks to us through symbolism. The ancient world speaks to us. It's
there. Yep.
translation. This is what we mean by another aspect of consciousness. The ancient world can continue to speak to us today. It
Mm-hmm.
influences us today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Down here.
I mean,
Yes, it does.
regardless of the genetic disposition, there's still compounding transmissions and communications to us, not only through epigenetic communications, because that's a certain way we used to communicate with each other too. It's through the genetics,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it will produce certain genetic disposition, and in that whatever it's producing, the genetics is producing. That's a communication in itself from the higher realm, because these are transmissions or signals coming from subtle aspects of the higher, or I wouldn't say higher or lower. I would just the essence, the nothingness.
The universal, the universal intelligence or the universal mind.
Well, the universal mind exists. in this nothingness that I'm speaking of.
Okay, well, yeah, but every universe has, you remember we have the three monads. I mean, not three monads, but the three logos. First, you have the monad, and then the three logos. And the third logos is the creative forces, or the creative force, or is the force behind all that is happening in creation. It's the force that creation is built off of. And these principles are only as eternal as the universe is, as the universe goes. Now, once the universe goes from active to inactive, then those principles no longer exist.
We once existed. We once existed between creation and nothingness.
Mhm. Yeah, unity. That's unity. We existed in unity, um, but we were unconscious, and so in order for the nothingness to become conscious of itself, it had to go through this illusion of separation. They had to go through this process of evolution and go through this process of becoming a oneness or I-ness, and and also break away from the unity and become a selfish being. Us becoming a selfish being is a part of the process,
I don't
and
get
because
that part.
we have to go through this extreme to and then eventually go
Yeah, we became very selfish. I agree with that, but I don't.
yeah,
I don't understand the purpose of going through that.
well, there's a reason for that.
I know
there
it
there
is. I just can't. I can't see it.
So that way, when as we ascend back into unity, we're ascending. We're going back into unity as uh, a conscious and aware of.
I guess because it's not. It's in my. It's always been in my essence to recognize the totality of my essence, which is the oneness with all, which is nothingness and something at the same time. So I
Mhm.
don't. I don't know. I guess
Well,
I can only accept speculate that I was born to bring in this neutrality between these two forces and bring them into harmony.
well, okay, you can say that.
I mean, that's
Um,
why I have an affinity with my art.
mhm.
That's why I have an affinity with my art, and it's like I understand that energy, that balance, that energy of balance so well.
Mhm. Okay, well, this kind of goes in, you know, um, breaks it down a little bit more about what consciousness is. And, like when I was given the analogy between oxygen and hydrogen, it says we can say regarding the experience between oxygen and hydrogen um, can be called consciousness, where when one become aware of the other one and they interact with one another, that's consciousness. And because of those who see the adamant principles, they see that very same quality, which we call chemical affinity, at the level of the atoms as forms evolve. That quality develops into what we call consciousness. So it is the same seed that is there. So the idea here is that Buddhi is the universal consciousness that pervades everything, including the atoms. So when the process of evolution bring the universal monad into the human form, what happens is that the monad, even though at this point neither Atma or Buddhi has an individual consciousness, well, when the monad is connected with another, well, at that point when they do come together in the human form, is connected with another principle called manas, which we talked about before. Manas is the principle of mind and the principle of self-consciousness. Okay, so when the monad gets in touch, the monad means one, which is what you're talking about. So when the monad gets in touch with manas, it begins to develop this kind of self-consciousness. This manas itself is a spiritual principle in its origin. This is like the pure mind. Manas in itself is a principle, is a spiritual principle. The self-conscious of manas is very pure, and it's not the personal self-consciousness. It's just the awareness of being. It's just the awareness of being, of existing. And the mind that we're talking about, this higher mind, is a very insightful mind, and it's not a mind entangled in the process of thinking, reasoning, or thinking and reasoning. It is a mind that can perceive things as they are. We all have that potentiality. That is the original part in us, the pure mind. So this is kind of addressing what you're talking about. But now the problem is that in the process of incarnation, when this monad, Atma, and Buddhi and manas express itself through a body and a complex of emotions, that manas, which is very spiritual, becomes narrowed down into a human form to do whatever it can do while expressing through the brain. So they say manas never incarnate into a human. It never incarnate completely into a human being, but only a little small ray of manas incarnates into the human being. So what happens is that this mind or higher mind now becomes the low mind, which is confused.
It becomes fragmented, or it
Yeah.
appears to be fragmented. It's not
Mhm.
fragmented. It's
It
just
is.
because when you come into humanity, everything is duality. Everything is in your mind broken down into fragments. This is how.
Yeah.
This is why the Western, and it is like an example of this fall is the Western world, right? Because the
Mhm.
Western world fragments everything, compartmentalize everything in order to control it. That's the way they feel they got to control everything by being able to compartmentalize it and fractionalize it into to where it's all just broken down into data. That's what they mean by this whole reality is just data,
Yeah.
right? So it's not the act of creating or destroying, it's just data. And data is not the mechanism of life that is moving, is not the mega data is not the mechanism of life. So that consciousness that's what, and beyond that consciousness that moves that
Man,
consciousness, is
Mantis,
beyond that
vibrating.
consciousness
So
that
this is
moves that
pure self.
consciousness into, you know what I'm saying, into a whole nother aspect of realization.
Yeah, they're
You know,
trying to turn pure self into something artificial.
well,
Pure.
that what happens as a result of not mastering self. This is a point of self mastery,
Yeah,
right?
they're
You're going to fall.
unspiritualizing
You're
self.
going to fall deeper and deeper into the second place. You're gonna if you are if you're not self if you're not in the path or you're not on the path of mastery of yourself, then you're going to be in the sunken place. the farther you get, all you're gonna do is spiral down further and further.
Yeah, but
Self
in grand,
mastery is key. You cannot just you cannot be passive with this. You can't be passive. You have to be active.
yeah, yeah.
If you
So,
passive, you background. You just
mm,
what is you the one that are just background and a filter for the real ones that's doing the real work.
okay, now check this out. This is gonna touch on what we was talking about, the selfish part. Okay, next, this self-consciousness that was pure now becomes a sense of selfishness. And why? Because this ray of menace begins to work through the brain and possibly bestows a sense of being on whatever it is illuminating. There is a thought that the process of thinking is a process that is pretty much mechanical. In theosophical view, our bodies are alive and our emotions are a collection of elemental forces which are alive in themselves. They have their own tendencies, just as our bodies have its own tendencies. We identify The problem is we identify with these things as being who and what we really truly are, and they're not. These are aspects of our personality, and our personality is not really real. It's not who we really are, because when we pass on from this physical realm, that those four aspects of us passes on with it too. And so your consciousness, if your consciousness is locked in that, your consciousness, like you say, gets stuck in that sunken place.
And that's the thing. Like we put too much emphasis on our what our consciousness creates. We create these constructs in our mind, and we live within them just for security. People. This is why people a lot of people suffer from cognizant dissonance. Is because they're creating a reality. Because I'm telling you, when we first started the show, you're creating your reality whether you want to accept that responsibility or not.
Well,
Whether
a
you
lot of
want to
people.
accept that responsibility or not, you're creating your reality.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But the problem is what a lot of people do, and they feel like they can rest in this. They take that responsibility off of themselves and put it on some other deity outside of them,
And that's
and they
my
give.
point. You see
And
my point? You see my
hmm
point? Because
yep,
this is even going to deity. This is the creation of the mind. Deities
yep,
are creation of the mind,
the
okay?
creation of the
So you
mind. Yeah.
created this as a placeholder for ability that you think you're inferior. So you have to create it's just like when you're doing your shadow work, right? A lot of people who don't do their shadow work, they create these false personalities and live precariously through that. And
hmm
and they say, oh, like the brother Panic did an excellent demonstration about the science of this, is where he talked about how most gang members have created an alter ego, like their gang, their street name,
Yeah.
as the person they use to handle their dark side. They don't want to deal with their dark side of their dignified self, is whoever their government name is, right?
hmm
So
Yeah.
this is shadow work. This is they don't understand that shadow work, but they're doing it in the opposite way. That's affecting their psyche in a negative way in their progress for their
So
evolution.
so they're like a negative version of the Dark Knight, Batman.
Right. The Dark Knight himself was a created alter ego to deal with the fact that he wanted to revenge. He wanted
Yeah.
something to, like Bruce Wayne is somebody totally different.
He was the helpless one. So
Yeah, he
he
don't. He's too gullible. He's too That's why they talk, you hear, and sometimes they talk against each other sometimes. Batman, the dark side Batman be saying,
The
"You're too weak.
duality.
You're not gonna be able to handle it. I need to do this."
Yeah, the duality.
Yeah, right. Everybody create alter egos. We all do. You feel me?
Yeah.
We create alter egos to put certain things there that we don't want to deal with personally.
Well, this is our experience in the physical world, in the physical material world. This world is it's so anti against the spirit or the higher, the pure self.
That in itself is a creation of our minds too. The fact that we become more materialistic than spiritual. What do we create when we do that? What's the energetic ramifications of doing that? Because
We create our misery.
we create going back to how powerful we actually are, and
Hmm.
we're looking at the powers that be as having the power, but all the powers that be do is use our power against us. That's it. So this is one of
Yeah,
our powers we have. We have the power to actually create constructs in our mind to place hold in certain things that are like we just deserve. We also have the mindset and the energetic potentiality, right, to create
hmm,
create a whole nother situation if we wanted to. But we bought into a lot of the programming. That's the matrix. A lot of the matrix is based on that programming, that false programming that we are creating our reality. So
yeah,
if they giving us a false programming, that's interfering with our true nature and us having these communications with our ancestors and nature itself. That's interfering with that. So we're going to create this reality where everybody is cynical. Everyone is vibrating on a whole negative level. We're creating that.
yeah.
We're creating this. And
We
that's the main thing that we are going. That's part of the evolutionary aspect of what I see humanity is going through at this particular moment now. Is that recognition of that amount of power that we actually have. Like I talk to people all the time, bro. They don't want to take on the responsibility that they actually have. They
Yeah,
don't.
because but see, they haven't seen the vision yet of where we're really headed, where our true destiny is, where we finally overcome all of these obstacles and we become this race of super beings, creating our world and environment to fit us, and in a way where everyone benefits, where everyone, um, no one is left behind, and we all contribute. And it's a whole different world than the world that we're living in today. But there's another world in front of
We the
us that,
only one can we can on we the only one can make anything we want to come about. If it happens, of all these things that people are saying over and over again, the end of the world, this is gonna happen, there's gonna be weather storms. You're perpetuating that. What I'm trying to tell y'all is this is what counterintelligence is. They're putting out a lot of bullshit so that it can perpetuate in your mind because they know that we create reality. If they
yeah.
perpetuate something in our head, it's going to happen.
Now,
We keep thinking it's going to happen. It's going to
okay, so
happen.
now that we know this, we can turn we can turn the tide. Now we can
We
change
can do
that.
whatever the hell we
Now
want to
we can
do,
start
man.
putting in the input that needs to be there, for us to start manifesting on that level and start bringing
See,
that.
but the key to it is everybody is vibrating below the heart chakra right now. They're
Well,
vibrating below
we're
the
not
heart
talking
chakra.
to
How
me.
do I know this? Because no, listen. It's look, even people. because it's people are like what I'm saying in this evolutionary. Everyone's going to realize, like in the scripture, it talks about every eye and ear will hear, every eye will witness, every ear will hear. No,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is, you said we're not talking to them, but actually we are,
Yeah.
because they now at the end of the day, they're going to be one of those witnesses too. That's going
Mm-hmm.
to hear and see what the freak is really going on here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
agree with that.
what I'm saying is a deeper meditation going on here that we not privy of, because we not evolved in that level yet. This is I swear to God, they talked about that in Star Trek, right? How it was a civilization of people or entities that were on such a high level of consciousness, right? Or vibrational,
They were
energetic,
functioning
that
on the higher
they couldn't
mental
even
range.
interact with humanity like that. Hello?
Yeah, they
They
were
couldn't even
functioning.
interact with humanity like that. So
Mhm.
they couldn't even interact with humanity, but it's like they had like a clause in their galactic law that said they can't interfere with humanity because they were that higher level vibrational entity and shit. And this is
Mhm.
what I'm talking about. Like, we could reach these levels. We have been on those levels already. We have been to those worlds already. Those hyperdimensional multi realities. We've
Yeah,
been there.
we've been there and beyond, and then started all over again. And every time we start all over again, we have nowhere to go but down.
Well, the thing is, the down part is the dojo. We in the dojo. We training right now
Hmm.
in the
And that,
dojo.
actually, we're in the horizontal part, which means we at the bottom. Yeah, going through the training, and now we can ready bring on the momentum that we need to begin the next leg back up
Right. I
to the home
mean,
stage.
after years of training, bro, it's like once you get to that next cycle, evolutionary cycle, you are
Hmm.
something different than you were prior to this evolutionary cycle, bro. You
Oh,
something different, man.
yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
are.
it's
That's
just something different going
right.
on here.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's like the bigger scheme is like the bigger scheme is like to me, I don't see nothing sinister about it at the end of the day. Like, most people will look at it, and that's the problem with most people, because they don't understand that your humanity is not the end all be all of a multi-dimensional potentiality universe. Like, no, for real though, I'm just being real. Like, we so hung up on humanity, right? Which
Hmm.
is feeding. What's feeding off of that? These lower demiurges that's feeding off of that. They feeding off of that right there.
Yeah,
That's the
humanity is
energy
like a
they
little
feed on.
baby.
So in all the superhero movies, they always talk about humanity and saving humanity and all that stuff, right? The
Yeah.
heroes sacrifice themselves for humanity. And then they even go further in that mythos, that idea of humanity being something, it's something in humanity, right? Yes, they
Hmm.
get into it. Yeah, there's something in humanity. It's not
The
humanity
divine
though.
spark.
It's
It's the
something
divine
in. They
spark.
always go to that. It's a spirit in humanity,
Yeah.
right? But
Uh-huh.
guess what? It's not humanity though.
It's not
See, y'all try
humanity.
to harp over humanity and make us embrace humanity more and more and more. That's the demiurge is feeding off of that.
Yep.
The
Yeah,
more you embrace
humanity.
your humanity, the more the demiurge feeding off your ass.
And you know what? He got so many traps out there where people can't help but fall into those traps and get stuck. And and the best way, the best trap is giving birth to a child.
Right. Because
But
they
that's
indoctrinate them immediately that, oh, you're a human, this human, oh, this human kid. all the humanity is all in embedded. They're gonna thoroughly they're gonna thoroughly indoctrinate you from who you actually are to what is
Well, they're gonna
necessary. So we in the dojo. We in the
they're
dojo,
gonna
bro. We training. We training. I
yeah
swear.
they're gonna use your kid against you. They're gonna
Listen,
use their
bro.
kid.
I've been watching these. Oh my god, it's like you need if y'all really want to understand how they actually all the stuff that we talking about, they put it in comic books, man. They put it
Hmm.
on these action adventure cartoons, bro. They putting so much information that I'm just that's all I watch, bro. That's all I watch is damn the DC universe, Marvel universe. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? They create other universes too, though. This is
Yeah,
why I had to create the Order out of Chaos being. I'm gonna create a comic book on the Order of Chaos. I got the whole vision in my head, what it is already, the whole mythos, the whole
shit.
cosmology.
Well, I remember in the that cartoon that used to come on, the Japimation cartoon that used to come on called Robotech. You remember that?
Robotech was the shit. I loved Robotech. That was
Yeah.
my
Okay.
shit.
But did you ever read the books?
No, I never read the books.
No. See,
No, you was telling me about the book. You was telling me
I
about it.
read
Well, go
the
ahead.
books, but they went beyond the television series, especially
I mean,
after.
they gonna have to. They censor it when they come to television all the time. So go ahead.
Yeah, they had the what is called the Sentinel series, where
They had
um,
the Sentinels. They had the Sentinels on there. They had the
they,
Sentinels on there.
they never finished the Sentinels though. They only the Sentinels ended when they got to the planet Tyro, or the planetoid Tyro, and
Mhm.
they defeated the Envid there. But the Envid, the Queen Mother, she had already got everything that she needed from there, and she was already on Earth. But she was on her way to Earth when the SDF-3 went to Tyro, which is orbiting this big ass giant planet called Phantom, which is where they mined all of their magnetic ore that they use to build their fold generators and their gigantic force of spaceships and shit. That was powered through that shit that they made called protoculture from
Right.
the Envid flower of life.
They had to
Yeah,
have. And know what I noticed in all these shows? They had to have discovered infinite energy because
yeah,
they
but
they
see,
they had these. Go ahead.
but they took it further.
Free
See,
energy.
you see, all of those planets, even the Earth, was seeded by another race that was so advanced. They lived millions of years ago, prior to us, and they visited all of these planets, and they planted seeds in these planets that would, at a certain point, that would speed up their evolution. and
Mm.
and and so in this race they conquered death, they conquered everything except for one thing: they weren't able to transport themselves to the next universe, or to create universe B. They didn't have what it took, the genetics, to do that. But
No,
they
every time
figured.
I hear these, look, every time I hear these mythos and these adventures and stuff,
Mhm.
I it feel like I'm remembering a past life, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so what they did, they built an artificial world. I mean, complete technological world. It looked like a real world, but it was ran by artificial intelligence, and they didn't need physical bodies no more. So they downloaded themselves into this big ass computer, and they became like digital, like, the metaverse, like the shit that they're trying to create now. They
Right.
already did it. Okay, and
What
it
did
will.
I just say about data? They're trying to minimize us to just data when
Uh-huh.
that's not the spirit of who we are.
Yeah. So they put themselves to sleep inside of this planet and was set to wake up at a certain point when a certain event took place in the universe.
Right.
And so, in the planet that they built had this artificial intelligence and these AI beings running it, and it was open for free trade and all that stuff. But you could not fight a war on this planet. If you tried to fight a war on this planet, or if you came to this planet with hostile intentions, this AI would take over your your AI on your spaceships or whatever. It would override it and implement the self destruct. It'll destroy you through your own shit.
Well,
And
guess
if
what? That's exactly what every AI, when they asked about humanity, it said humanity has to be destroyed, bro. I'm talking about when they asked the real AI, man. They
yep,
asked them, and it was like we have to eventually, if we don't destroy humanity, humanity is going to destroy everything in existence, and that's
yeah,
the conclusion that every AI comes to, and it is why because they know it's based if it's based on the hard consciousness of where. But the thing is, when humanity is not necessarily and it can go into that state of being the most devastating thing for all existence, right? But it
hmm,
also can be the most healing thing for all existence too. It got this multi potentiality to it too.
yeah.
So
There's
what
a
I'm saying
duality.
is right. So what I'm saying is humanity has the potential to be the most devastating thing in the universe, but it
Yeah,
also has the potential to be the most healing thing in the universe at one as well. So
which is
the thing about it is humanity has to transcend its humanity in order for that to happen though. It has to
yeah,
transcend its humanity.
or it'll get wiped out because some other entity or deities may see us as a threat and say, you know
Well,
what?
that's exactly what they say on in that circle of the conspiracy theory is that the aliens don't introduce themselves to us because they already know we hostile. So and what they mean by hostile is we vibrating, like I said, below the heart chakra.
Hmm.
We all and this society is perpetuating that lower vibrational existence of most conscious people are vibrating on. But
Now
most
we're
people, like I
vibrating
said, they
upside down.
vibrate, huh?
We're vibrating upside down.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's exactly what I mean. So what happens is you're more acceptable to the sub realms of this reality, right? The lower, like you was talking about, the emotional sub realms of the reality. You are
Hmm.
acceptable to that now. This is where you get all these insecure people, these people who are basically emotionally and just weak. They weak. And it's the sunken place is why they weak. Like
Yeah.
if you are in the sunken place at a level so low, it's hard for you to get the courage to get yourself back up and get that spirit back in you. But we
And
got we
yeah,
got we got 7 more minutes in the show, bro. We got to cut it short soon.
okay. Yeah, so all this stuff we're talking about manifesting our own reality or being the master manifester of our reality. To them, that don't make any sense. To them, they they will become hostile against that.
Well, they know what we talking about though. It ain't like because they're doing it themselves.
Yeah.
This is how they got the certain scenario that they have today. They have they have people on 24/7 mantras.
Hmm.
They got people on 24/7 just channeling this reality, this scenario. Not only at that level, they got AI continuously going through those scenarios and finding out the potentiality. See, the reason why they have the AI going through those calculations of the multi potentialities is because there is no answer. You can't get an answer, but you can get as many different answers as you possibly can, and then narrow it down to the potentiality of what it might be possible. You can't, and not only doing that, but they're manipulating it by because we are creating that potentiality by whatever we do. Whatever every
Mm-hmm.
day you wake up, you're creating potentiality toward whatever reality you create.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh, and that is very powerful.
And it's all it's look it's so effective as the fact as I move this scissor over here. I moved
Yeah.
the scissor back. That
You got.
affected a potentiality that may came about in my reality, and that's
Yeah.
so powerful. You got to recognize that because this is why when you set up your altars, when you set
Mm-hmm.
up now you're thinking like this when you're setting up your altar. Now you're thinking like this when you're doing your ritual.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
potentiality is being set up and cultivated. You're creating a potentiality that's more favorable to where you desire.
Yep.
Period.
And also a potentiality that allow what needs to be, because again there are principalities are not principalities but elemental spirits. Okay, our emotions work through the elementals, and there are entities or beings that don't think like humans. They don't have human consciousness, but they get shit done though. They like if a mother if, when certain people's time is up, they see to it that their time is up. When it's time for certain things to change or for us to go into a certain direction, there are spirits or beings that are in charge of making sure that we move in that direction.
Well, they like I said, they manipulate, but ultimately you have the driver's seat. You are God of your existence, or the most
Oh,
powerful being you can create in your existence. So yeah,
mm-hmm.
they manipulate, they try to influence and try to put it, but that's all based on self mastery. When I'm saying self mastery, what are we talking about? You have to go back to the first beginning of this show and see what we talking about. What are we talking about? Cultivating the energy of your existence, cultivating the consciousness that you're creating construct that is not working against you before you now. Because you're using it
Exactly.
against yourself now. You're using all of your power that you have right now, you're using it against yourself right now.
Yes.
Now,
If it's
like
based.
belief, like one of them is belief.
Mm-hmm.
You're using belief against yourself, retarded.
That because
So
they haven't entered into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of knowing, intelligence, information, knowing thyself.
intuitiveness,
Yeah,
intuitiveness
yeah.
beyond
So,
knowing, just intuitive. And I think a lot of people is connected to that more than they're connected to intelligence because at the end of the day, if I try to break down concepts based on intellectual, people can't understand. But if I give them a concept or a symbol that makes them feel, they like, damn, they connect on a higher level and they don't even recognize it until you know what I'm saying? So this
mhm.
intuitiveness is the consciousness that beyond consciousness, and you know what I'm saying, where like intuition and cognizance. I mean, this higher
Well,
cognizance
the
where
pure mind,
you
the
can
pure mind.
actually you can actually feel. You can actually when you're in tune and you feel stuff going on around you. You can. It's like you got to be in tune at that level. These are all superpowers we have, but we're not utilizing it in that live. And with that, bro, we gotta hurry up and get out. You can get your last words. We got a minute to go.
Oh well, my last word. Yeah, again, like you said, we have a lot of power, and what we think. I mean, the way we start our day off can makes a difference. And when you start your day off, if you got to meditate, you got to use that that chi energy. You got to pull in all the energy from out of the nothingness, because what we consider nothing, just space, is not just space. That shit is alive. This is conscious. Everything is conscious. So
Right.
yeah. So pull from all this universal energy. It's everywhere. There's
Realize your oneness with this entity, this being that we're calling dark matter or dark energy. It's an entity. We have oneness with each other. We have
yeah,
a
and to
synchronicity.
become at one with it, you must become nothing.
Right. Realize your
Because only
nothing.
from the nothing comes the absolute. You
Right. And
must
these are just
become
state of
nothing.
consciousness that we fall in and out of in order to get things done on higher realms that are beyond human. It's like y'all have to go beyond your humanity. You have to. In
Yeah.
order, if you don't go beyond your humanity, you might as well not watch this show anymore because that's all we own.
No, just turn on some reality TV. Just turn on VH. I mean, BET. Go back to BET. Well,
Right.
watch the haves and the have-nots.
Real shit. Yeah,
Yep.
but we gotta go though. We'll see y'all next Saturday.
Yep. All
Order,
right.
order, chaos, chaos, order.
And darkness, baby. The mother and father of
Darkness,
light.
light, light, dark. However
Mm-hmm.
you want to duality it. Their marriage.
Okay. Dope back.